Okay, so let's summarize what we did in this video. First, we started with creating a user pane. This user pane takes the client, and right now we just created a window, a frame that has this user list. And then from there, in order for that user list to work, it has to be adding itself as a user status listener, right? Because this user status listener will tell you when things go online and offline. And the way that we represent that is using a user list model, which is basically a list of strings, so you can add and remove the logins from that list. The list model is actually rendered by using a JList, so you can pass that user model into the JList as part of the constructor, and then from there we just create a user interface based on that GUI component. Next, what we did was when a user double clicks on a login from that user list, we actually create another GUI, and then that GUI is basically showing a message pane, and that message pane is basically allowing you to have a conversation with the user that you just selected, which is passed into the constructor. And then we in this GUI, basically it has two things, right? One is it has a list, which represents the conversation, and then it has an input field, which is what message you want to send to the user. When you do send a message, we actually capture that event as an action listener. Right, so when you press enter, this action listener gets called and this action perform gets called, and then from there what we do is we access the whatever you typed, and then we send that as a message to the server using the client API, and then we also add your conversation to the list of conversations, and then from there we just set the input field to empty. Okay, we also have to implement this on message, because when the other user sends you a message, you have to be able to handle that event. And that's what this onMessage is for. And so in this case, we have to filter out that the message was actually for this particular GUI instance, right? Because we can have many GUI instances, one representing a conversation with other users. And so in this case, this login has to be destined for this particular GUI instance, right? And if it is, then we basically represent that as from a login, and then the message body, and then from there we add it to the list, the conversation list, so we can show that, right? And then that is represented by something like this. So this is going to be the conversation list, and this is where you're going to be able to send messages to the targeted user, which is represented by that login.